Earth's Fever, the Climate Crisis. Part 1, Understanding Climate Change and its Impact. The Earth is speaking to us. Through storms, fires, droughts, and rising seas, it is crying out for help. This is the story of a planet in peril, a fever we call climate change. What is climate change? Climate change is not a distant threat or an abstract idea, it is a present and accelerating reality. It refers to significant, long-term changes in global temperatures and weather patterns. While Earth's climate has always fluctuated naturally, the rapid changes we see today are driven by human activities. The Industrial Revolution marked the beginning of an era where fossil fuels like coal, oil, and gas became the backbone of economies. This came at a cost. The burning of these fuels releases greenhouse gases such as carbon dioxide, methane, and nitrous oxide into the atmosphere. These gases act like a blanket, trapping heat from the sun and warming the planet, a phenomenon known as the greenhouse effect. While this effect is natural and essential for life on Earth, the excessive buildup of greenhouse gases has intensified it, causing global temperatures to rise at an alarming rate. In just over a century, average global temperatures have risen by approximately 1.1 degrees Celsius, with devastating consequences. The last decade has been the hottest in recorded history, and the impacts of this warming are being felt across the globe. The impacts of climate change. Rising temperatures. One of the most apparent effects of climate change is the rise in global temperatures. As the planet warms, heat waves are becoming more frequent and intense. In many regions, these prolonged periods of extreme heat are taking a heavy toll on people, ecosystems, and economies. In India, for instance, the summer of 2022 brought one of the most severe heat waves in decades. Temperatures soared above 50 degrees Celsius in several regions, making life unbearable for millions. Crops withered under the relentless sun, leaving farmers desperate and communities on the brink of starvation. Urban areas fared no better, with power grids collapsing under the strain of increased air conditioning use. One farmer from Maharashtra recounted, "The heat killed our crops. We had no water left for ourselves, let alone the fields. How will we survive another summer like this?" Heat waves also pose serious health risks. In vulnerable populations, especially the elderly and children, heatstroke and dehydration can quickly turn fatal. Hospitals in affected regions reported a surge in admissions, overwhelming healthcare systems already stretched thin. Melting ice and rising seas. As temperatures rise, ice in the polar regions and glaciers worldwide is melting at an unprecedented rate. The Arctic, often referred to as the planet's refrigerator, is warming at twice the global average. The loss of sea ice is not just a local problem, it has far-reaching implications for global weather patterns and ecosystems. In Greenland and Antarctica, massive ice sheets are disintegrating, contributing significantly to rising sea levels. Over the past century, sea levels have risen by about 20 centimeters, and the rate of increase is accelerating. For low-lying coastal areas and island nations, this spells disaster. The Maldives, a tropical paradise in the Indian Ocean, is a stark example of the existential threat posed by rising seas. With an average elevation of just 1.5 meters above sea level, the Maldives is among the most vulnerable countries in the world. In recent years, frequent flooding has displaced thousands of residents, destroyed homes, and contaminated freshwater supplies. A local fisherman lamented, "The sea used to be our livelihood. Now it is swallowing our land. We don't know where to go." Extreme weather events. Climate change is also intensifying the frequency and severity of extreme weather events. Hurricanes, typhoons, and cyclones are growing stronger, fueled by warmer ocean waters. At the same time, regions that once experienced moderate rainfall are now enduring devastating floods. In 2021, Germany experienced catastrophic flooding after days of relentless rain. Rivers overflowed their banks, sweeping away homes, cars, and bridges. Entire villages were submerged, and over 180 lives were lost. Scientists quickly linked the disaster to climate change, pointing to how warmer air holds more moisture, leading to heavier rainfall. On the other side of the spectrum, prolonged droughts are wreaking havoc in places like sub-Saharan Africa. Crops fail, livestock perish, and millions face starvation as water sources dry up. These conditions often lead to mass migrations, as people are forced to leave their homes in search of food and water, exacerbating social and political tensions. Threats to biodiversity. Climate change is not just a human crisis, it is a crisis for all life on Earth. Rising temperatures and shifting weather patterns are disrupting ecosystems and threatening countless species with extinction. Coral reefs, often called the rainforests of the sea, are among the most vulnerable ecosystems. These vibrant underwater worlds are home to a quarter of all marine species, yet they are dying at an alarming rate due to coral bleaching. When ocean temperatures rise, corals expel the algae that provide them with food and color, leaving behind ghostly white skeletons. The Great Barrier Reef in Australia has lost over half its coral cover in the past 3 decades. In the Amazon rainforest, prolonged droughts and deforestation are creating a deadly combination. Often referred to as the lungs of the Earth, the Amazon plays a crucial role in regulating the planet's climate by absorbing vast amounts of carbon dioxide. However, as the forest shrinks, its ability to sequester carbon diminishes, accelerating global warming in a vicious cycle. Economic and social impacts. The economic costs of climate change are staggering. Natural disasters linked to climate change have caused billions of dollars in damages, destroying infrastructure, disrupting supply chains, and leaving communities in financial ruin. Insurance companies are struggling to keep up with the rising costs of climate-related claims, and many are pulling out of high-risk areas altogether. Socially, the impacts are equally dire. Climate change disproportionately affects the poorest and most vulnerable populations, exacerbating existing inequalities. Women and children in developing countries are often the hardest hit, as they rely heavily on natural resources for their livelihoods. Moreover, the growing number of climate refugees is creating a humanitarian crisis. According to the United Nations, an estimated 21.5 million people are displaced annually by climate-related disasters. Without urgent action, this number is expected to rise significantly, leading to increased pressure on host communities and fueling geopolitical tensions. Conclusion: a call to action. The first part of the documentary concludes with a montage of young activists, scientists, and community leaders working tirelessly to combat climate change. The story of climate change is not just about rising temperatures or melting ice. It is about people, communities, and the future of life on Earth. This is our home, and it is worth fighting for. The fever can be cured, but the time to act is now. What will you do to help heal the planet? Earth's fever, the climate crisis. Part 2, the fight for our future. While the challenges we face are daunting, there is hope. The battle against climate change is not one we fight alone. It is a fight of resilience, innovation, and unity. The fever is not yet fatal, but only if we act now. Renewable energy, the power of change. One of the most crucial solutions to the climate crisis lies in our ability to transition away from fossil fuels and embrace renewable energy sources. Solar, wind, hydro, and geothermal power offer sustainable alternatives to the carbon-heavy energy we rely on today. The shift to renewable energy is not just a necessity, it is an opportunity. A chance to power our world without destroying it. Case study: Denmark's wind energy revolution. Denmark is often hailed as a global leader in renewable energy. In the early 1990s, the country made a bold decision to invest heavily in wind energy, and today, it generates over 40% of its electricity from wind. The wind industry has not only helped reduce Denmark's carbon footprint but has also created thousands of jobs and positioned the country as a leader in green technology. One Danish engineer, standing next to a towering wind turbine, speaks to the camera: "When we started, many doubted our vision. But today, Denmark's wind farms are a symbol of what is possible when we commit to change. Denmark's success story is just one example of how renewable energy can drive both environmental and economic transformation. Reforestation, healing the earth. Forests are vital in the fight against climate change. They absorb carbon dioxide from the atmosphere and help regulate global temperatures. However, deforestation has been one of the primary contributors to the climate crisis. Every year, millions of acres of forests are cleared for agriculture, urban development, and logging, releasing stored carbon back into the atmosphere. The destruction of forests is not just an environmental issue, it is a global issue. Forests are the lungs of the earth, and when they are destroyed, the entire planet suffers. But there is hope. Across the globe, communities, governments, and organizations are working tirelessly to reverse the damage done. Reforestation and afforestation projects are being launched to restore forests and plant new ones. Case study, the Green Belt Movement. In Kenya, the Green Belt Movement, founded by Nobel Peace Prize laureate Wangari Maathai, has planted over 50 million trees since its inception. The movement not only focuses on reforestation but also empowers women and local communities to take charge of their environmental futures. A woman involved in the Green Belt Movement, standing proudly in a newly planted forest, says, "These trees are our future. They provide food, shelter, and hope. Every tree we plant is a victory." This is just one of many reforestation efforts taking place worldwide. In India, the Great Green Wall initiative aims to restore 50 million hectares of land by 2030. Sustainable agriculture, nourishing the planet. As the world's population grows, so does the demand for food. But conventional farming practices, which rely heavily on chemical fertilizers, pesticides, and monoculture crops, are not only damaging the environment but are also unsustainable in the long term. The documentary cuts to scenes of farmers adopting sustainable practices, planting diverse crops, using organic fertilizers, and employing agroforestry techniques that integrate trees into agricultural landscapes. Sustainable agriculture is about working with nature, not against it. It's about growing food that nourishes us while protecting the planet for future generations. Case study, India's zero-budget natural farming. In India, a movement known as Zero-Budget Natural Farming, ZBNF, has gained momentum in recent years. This approach to farming eliminates the need for costly chemical inputs by focusing on organic methods and traditional knowledge. A farmer from Andhra Pradesh explains, "When we switched to ZBNF, our yields improved, our soil became healthier, and we no longer needed to depend on expensive fertilizers. It's been a game changer for us." ZBNF is just one example of how small-scale, sustainable farming can reduce the environmental impact of agriculture and improve the livelihoods of farmers. The role of technology and innovation. Innovation is another key component in the fight against climate change. From carbon capture technology to electric vehicles, advancements in technology are helping to reduce emissions and create a more sustainable future. The documentary features a segment on electric vehicles, EVs, and the transition away from gasoline-powered cars. We see electric cars driving through city streets, reducing pollution and greenhouse gas emissions. The future of transportation is electric. By replacing fossil fuel-powered vehicles with clean energy alternatives, we can dramatically reduce emissions and improve air quality. Case study, Norway's electric vehicle revolution. Norway is leading the way in the adoption of electric vehicles. The country has set a goal to become the first nation to end the sale of new fossil fuel-powered cars by 2025. As a result, nearly 55% of all new cars sold in Norway are electric. A Norwegian driver, charging his electric car at a station, remarks, "It feels good to know that I'm doing my part to reduce pollution. Plus, the car is cheaper to maintain and drive." Electric vehicles are just one example of how technology is helping us reduce our reliance on fossil fuels and move toward a more sustainable future. A global movement, collective action. From youth-led movements like Fridays for Future to international agreements like the Paris Agreement, there is a growing recognition that we must act together to tackle this crisis. One young activist, speaking passionately at a climate rally, says,
"We are the generation that will make a difference. We won't stand by while our planet burns. We will fight for our future."
This is not just a fight for survival. It is a fight for justice, equality, and the future of all life on Earth. Together, we can turn the tide. Conclusion: the power of hope. The final message is clear: the battle against climate change is not easy, but it is winnable. The Earth's fever can be cured, but only if we take action now. The time to act is now. Each one of us has a role to play. Together, we can heal the Earth. Together, we can change the world.
I hope you liked the documentary. If you did, press the like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this video to any friend that might find it useful. As this was the first video of the channel, I decided to do something special and made a documentary for you guys. Me talking you through topics with cool animations. Thanks for watching.